A developing country is in the midst of its most complicated economic crisis. Unemployment levels are rising, but not as precariously as inflation. Foreign currency coffers in national banks are as good as empty, as are fuel and gas reserves. International financial agencies have come knocking. They are not happy at A, financial instability, or B, the default in payments. Political unrest, A and B, are giving way to in private space discussion centers around the failure and successive governments and rising consumer prices in political space that a national corporation, negligence, and the need for radical change. So the truth of the matter is that there's a whole lot of things going on in the world. Just like when you come to Europe now, for many years the leftists have left a loophole, meaning that they were just so self-centered. They were just thinking about themselves. They weren't thinking about the general public. So because every year the cost of living was skyrocketing and the salaries were not going up. So, and that is what the far rights are taking advantage of. Just like since the war started in Ukraine and the US started sanctioning Russia, the BRICS now gave birth to the de-dollarization agenda. And there's no way there's going to be global equity in the world without Africa being economically free from the claws of the West. Because before you can preach global equity to the world, or that there should be global equity, the 1884 Berlin Treaty that was signed in Berlin must be destroyed. Africa must be totally free to dictate where and when and how to manage their resources or sell their resources. Yes, because some of these super countries thinking that they have right over some certain countries' mineral resources, that the mineral resources of these countries don't belong to them. That is where inequality starts in the first place. Because let us take Niger as the easiest case study. You can imagine having uranium and your former colonial master is buying your uranium at 80 cents per kilo, while this same uranium per kilo is being sold at $200 per kilo at international market. Is that not a total rip-off? So before they will preach of any global equity in the world, Africa must be totally free to own its resources, to manage its resources, to dictate how its resources must be sold, be it at domestic or international level. Take a country like Venezuela in the first instance. Venezuela is facing a whole lot of sanctions. Why? Because Venezuela refused to sell its oil with US dollars. Yes. And that's why you see that today Venezuela is one of the most sanctioned countries from the US. And that's why you see that Venezuela is now part of the countries that are lining up to join the BRICS. So there's a whole lot of global balances that need to be done. Yes, no country is bigger than any country. So as long as every country on its own can be on their own and manage their affairs and do their things without any other country's interference, or some countries thinking that they are bigger than some countries, they are superior, they dictate, or they are the police of the world, things will continue to get out of hand globally. Yes. So if you check since for the last 10-15 years, things are getting worse than it used to be in the past. Be it the cost of living, there's not even jobs. In as much as the world is advancing, some companies are now applying technologies to depose human beings or human workers. You begin to ask yourself, by the time this development of using robots in some companies or working spaces, what then happened to the humans? So they need to be balanced in between. Yes, technology is good, but at the end of the day, we are still human beings, and human beings are still existing here. So there's a whole lot of things to be considered, because you need to build on your human capital. Just like in some countries in Africa, they depend on their oil and gas. Tomorrow there will be no oil and gas. So human capital is very, very important when it comes to development of countries, and for that country to achieve what it intends to achieve. So it requires a whole lot. Yes. But first and foremost, every country have to own up to their own country and dictate the terms of their own resources.